Welcome to Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Norman Oliver. Wow, what exciting evening I have in store for everyone this evening. We have the state treasurer, Chip Flowers. If you've, unless you've been in some kind of hole, haven't been following all the articles on him, it's going to be an incredible give and take. And thank you for coming on, Chip.
Thank you for having me. I always love to be on Crossfire, so let's do it. Let's have some fun.
Okay. Before we go to Chip, I got a few announcements. First of all, I want to thank Edith Pridgeon and my brother Rob. I was able to put together an event for the men at the Monday Club, guys 70 years and older, and I want to tell you it was one of the most fabulous events that we had at the Monday Club since I had been there. Mr. Gilliam Sr. came, Mayor Seals, Mr. Pinkett, Sammy Congo, Jakey Jenkins, Charlie Brown, Guns. I mean, once you start naming names, you have to name them all night. But it was one of those events. And Edie, thank you for helping me with the invitations and the catering. And my brother Rob, thank you for helping organize with me. And Kendall Mobley, the president, I want to thank you all. And I want to thank the Monday Club for extending love. Emmett Poon, who brought in the mic system, just everybody there. God, it was just an incredible event. It made me feel good because these people paved the way for me. And while I'm on Jim Seals, and we're going into Black History Month, for the life of me, I can't understand how we haven't named something in this guy's honor. I guarantee you go to any city in the country and you have the first black mayor, something's named in his honor. And not only was Mayor Seals the first black mayor, I think he was like the first executive director of People's Settlement. I think he was one of the first black NAACP presidents here. A 10-year professor at the University of Delaware. One of the first black city councilmen at large, I think, or county councilman. I don't even know what his position was. State representative. I think it's a tragedy. I think it's a tragedy that we haven't found someone with the guts that say we're going to name something after Jim Seals Jr. I bet you, even if you go to Philadelphia, and I don't know this for sure, Wilson Good was the first black mayor, and this guy bombed people. He killed people. I guarantee you they got something in his name, in his honor, because that's the right thing to do. I mean, he was a trailblazer, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Guy and I had the fortitude. We named the courthouse for Lenny Williams. They haven't put up a sign yet, but Sam Guy and I did that. So for the life, and I remember I was going to name a building after Jim Seals and Jim Baker of South Wilmington. Didn't pan out, but that's what I was going to do. Why can't we come together as a community and name something in this guy's honor? You put his record up against anybody black or white in this state and his accomplishments, and he has surpassed it or whatever. And for the life of me, I think Theo Gregory tried to name the gym after Evelyn and Jim Seals. Something should be named after Jim Seals Jr. And again, I will talk about it until somebody has some guts. And I remember Jim Baker and I had these conversations, and people take stuff out of context. So I don't want somebody to go back, oh, Jimmy said that. No, Jim Baker's a friend. Jim Baker was a mentor. So let me get that out the way. And I remember Jim saying, Norm, I think that they wait till people die to name it. Guess what? They named one of the, if you go up to the city council chambers, the Jim Baker's chambers. And it should be. Jim Baker was there for 30 years. It should be. But Jim Baker's still living. So Jim Seals should have something named in his honor. So now that I said that, man, don't get me started. Hey, I wanted to say hi to Miss Price. I haven't said hi to Miss Price in a while. Miss Price is a good friend. I hope my cousin Robbie Miller, if somebody talked to him, that I hope Robbie gets well. And also, the women organization of minority women have their breakfast tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Please go to that event. I always supported it when Miss Plant was there. I'm not as involved as I used to be, but I also still think that it's a great event. And I want to commend, I think Sandra Pitts and those guys put together an incredible event. So anybody who tries to do anything in the city, I want to commend you. Bob Cannon and Hanifa Shabazz, please get in touch with those guys. We're going to do a big event for Marvin Thomas. Marvin Thomas is retiring. And Marvin Thomas is, God, he's Mr. Southbridge. Something should be named in his honor in South Wilmington, and Herman Holloway Jr. in South Wilmington. These guys are Southbridge. maybe I talk about that more Black History. How you doing, Chip?
No, very well. Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you a quick question. This is the first question. Are you still the state treasurer?
Every
time I read the paper, they're stripping you.
Listen, I am still the state treasurer, and they are still trying to throw some lies and all that bad stuff. But I think, I'm blessed. I'm enjoying my time. We've made so much money at the treasury during my term. We've made over $40 million. We've restructured the treasury. We've done so many positive things, and I just feel as though they don't want people to know the positive things that we've done at the treasury because, when you're doing good things, people try to tear you down. So I want to make sure that we are going to be out there hitting the campaign trail hard this year, letting people know what we're doing because it's bigger than me. I want to make sure that we open the doors for all the young people out there that want to follow my footsteps and follow the footsteps of those who came before me. And I think that's why it's so encouraging on the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend that we remember our past because, I was just so thankful that you were just pointing out some of the accomplishments of those who came before me, who opened the doors for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we can't allow people to tear us down. We have to keep building and supporting each other because I think that the doors of equality are important, and that's what I'm fighting for. And so we're going to continue to do those things.
Chip, let me ask you some pointed questions because
please.
Because last time you were on here, you had some pointed things that you said, and because this is Crossfire, I'll let you say it anyway. The young lady who was working for you, why did she stay on the payroll past when she was gone? I know she was on leave, right?
Correct.
Why did she stay on the payroll so long?
That's a great question, Norman. What people forget is that there is a process that, what people don't recognize the fact that she had certain rights because she came from state government and I brought her in from state government as exempt position. So she requested to go back into the system. And there's a process that has to be followed. And so what happened was the media was so big, well, not the media, I guess those within the administration were kind of throwing and trying to figure out a way to throw it on me that they basically got the story so big that they wanted to ignore the process. And they created a big mess. Things were getting leaked to the press. It was awful. Just a deplorable way that you treat any individual. I mean, what she did was stupid. You can't use your state credit card for personal charges. But, this was a routine from all the evidence that I've seen that other employees were doing it. People were taking checks. But then they wanted to make her the poster child because she was affiliated with me. So that was just disgusting. So that's what took so long. And by the time they finally got to figuring out that, wait a minute, this is going to start to blow back on other people besides Chip, magically the wheels started turning a little bit faster. So, I think ultimately I go to church on Sundays, and I always tell people, when you go to church on Sunday, don't forget what you learned on Sunday when you get to work on Monday. Mm-hmm. And so I always said that I'm going to treat this person fair because she's done some great things for the state. Yes, she did this awful incident, and I'm not condoning that in any stretch of the imagination.
She was your deputy director.
She was the deputy, yes, she was the deputy. And what happened was she was using her card, and I didn't know about it, but it was like almost like standard operating procedure, because obviously people were taking a check. Oh, this is not a big deal, don't worry about it. And so she would basically make a charge and pay it back when they asked her to pay it back. And this was went on for a couple years. It was crazy.
It's funny, right? And this is going to be a candid conversation. That opening was Guess Who Come to Dinner?
Yes.
Was Cindy Poitier, right? And what happened in that, I don't know if you remember that movie, he was dating a white woman.
Correct.
And it makes it look like, you were single, right?
Yes, I am single.
I think, no, what I'm saying is the
Right.
News Journal, they were trying to paint a picture as if this was your girlfriend.
Right.
So, and she was a white woman, and here you go messing with her, and you stayed after a couple of days and all that. You got to be naive not to believe that wasn't.
Yeah.
You had extra eggs, you had extra bacon, and you guys. But
It was crazy.
Is that your girlfriend, or was it?
No, it was not
somebody
my
you dated?
girlfriend. Eric and I, my former deputy, we're friends. And what made me so upset about it was that's why.
But who cared if you were?
Well, I still haven't figured out what they were planning to.
I'm telling you what the way.
Exactly. I still haven't figured out what they were planning to prove because both of us were single anyway. But I guess they wanted to just the salaciousness of it
Right.
all.
Uh-huh.
But I just thought it was embarrassing because almost all the elected officials we know stay after for conferences for meetings. Now, when I did it in Alaska for $400, it was almost like it was the Spanish Inquisition was going on for $400. And, as you know, Norman, and I paid $300,000 of my own money to get the office. I gave up my first year's salary of $100,000 for 2 interns in the office. And so why would I want to take $400 from taxpayers? It didn't even make sense. But, I was in Alaska for a couple extra days to meet with some banks, and I gave a commitment that it was going to be confidential meetings. And so I met with them, and then when they asked me questions, I went back to the banks and said, do you want to disclose this? I said, well, Treasurer, you said this was confidential, so why would, no. So I said, well, you know what, let me be fair, let me pay them $400 back. That somehow turned into Chip Flowers tried to take taxpayer money for 4. It was insane what happened. And so, I just am very disappointed at the coverage, but I think the coverage has gotten a lot better. And I think the media now understands that I'm going to fight back. I mean, that was ridiculous. It was implication. They took, it's funny, one of the photos of me on Facebook they always use with me in a jacket. Another treasurer took that picture on the conference event, but they used that, oh, this is Chip Flowers messing around with your money. I'm like, that was at the conference.
But again, the implication, it was a picture of you and a picture of her.
It was crazy. It was wrong.
And Alaska is, if, you know what I mean? Hey, Aubin, come on, wake up, man. You understand my point?
I do. I'm disappointed because I just think that she was a single mother, has 2 kids, and her kids went through a lot. I'm used to people throwing lies at me. You and I both that, Norman. I mean, that's the business that we're in. But what disappointed me the most was the fact that this whole story. Think about how long this story ran. Over $400 in Alaska, $400 in Seattle. And just me doing work. And like you said, the implication, the innuendo. And so that's why I came out this week in my speech and said, let's just stop it. I mean, this has gotten out of control. And so I'm not going to let, my party do that kind of shady stuff. I'm not going to let the Republican Party do it. I mean, we have integrity, we have standards. And so I think the best thing that we have to do is that we have to address things like that, because the average Delawarean doesn't think that way. But like you said, the innuendo, the placement, it was just really ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Chip Flowers, the state treasurer. And this evening, if you don't know about the treasurer's office, just sit back and learn. Sit back and listen. You don't have to call in if you don't understand what the guy does. Just listen, because I'm learning some stuff. Explain to us, right? Because a lot was written about this cash management board.
Right.
How does that work?
What happens is a lot of people think that the treasurer is responsible for managing the state's money, and that's only partly true. We manage the day-to-day operations. What Delaware has created was a separate board that's comprised of mainly unelected people appointed primarily by the governor. And this board makes decisions. They're only required to meet twice a year, but historically this board has tried to make decisions about what basically telling the treasurer where to put the money. So in other words, instead of me spending my $300,000 going up and down the state to basically be treasurer, I really should have wrote a check to one of the governors or somebody else running that could appoint these people on this board and written a lower check and basically have more authority than the treasurer, apparently. So that's not right. And people need to understand that this board, they go out and make decisions, and we've been questioning whether or not these boards may have conflicts. I mean, some of the board members own stocks in banks that they want me to put money in. And I always give an example. Look, I'm not trying to impugn the character of the governor or any of the board member, but it looks shady. One of the board members gave the governor a very large contribution. And this board member owns an investment firm.
Marvin Palmer.
Yeah, owns an investment firm. You could say that. He owns an investment company that has stock in some of the banks that he wants me to put money in. Now, we have an independent advisor who says, Treasurer Flowers, don't give that bank that much money because they don't have certain research capabilities. You need to put the money over here and basically give banks money based on performance. And so that's what we did, and that's why it ended up making $40 million. So they go and try to scare people. Chip Flowers wants to go invest money on his own. That's not the truth. The truth is that Chip Flowers wants to stop a board from being shady. And so I said, listen, I'm not saying that the governor or the banks were wrong for doing what they did, but I'm saying it looks bad.
But let me stop you there, Mr.
Sure.
Treasurer. You made some serious allegations. You said that you're not impugning them or saying, but you are, in a sense. I mean, you said you're going to go to the U.S. attorney. You threatened to sue him. You pissed off.
Let me be very clear with you.
That's what you said.
I told people the truth, and I would stand by this statement. Like I told the fact pattern, I said my signature is not going to be on a dotted line of corruption. It's just not. You can lie on me in Alaska. You can lie on me in Seattle. You can put me with my deputy. You can do all kinds of lies you want. But at the end of the day, we're going to run this office with integrity. Just like I treated my deputy with integrity, we're going to treat the state's money with integrity. And so it makes me upset when people say, well, Chip Flowers is off doing this. No, the real issue, while you're throwing an $800 issue trying to put dirt on me, the real issue is the millions that you're trying to give money to banks that don't deserve the money. So what we need to do is basically say, I had to make it very clear to people that you can pass whatever legislation you want. I've already contacted some folks in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to leave it like that because that should probably get enough people in the administration worked up tonight. But I've contacted some folks in D.C. They said, Treasurer Flowers, don't you worry. You don't have to sign anything that you feel is corrupt. You let us handle it if you feel it's corrupt. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to tell too much.
Like that. Well, let me ask you another question, though. See, this is getting deep. You also you also were upset about an opinion from the Attorney General's office that said that this cash management board had the authority to do what they want.
Yeah.
But you said that Bo Biden didn't sign it, his deputy or someone signed off, so you want to put his feet to the fire. And also, see, that's what I'm saying.
You're good. Normally, I like the fact you got your research.
This is Crossfire. I'm going to do my homework.
You saw it.
Then my point is, so you are, you could be honest on this show, by the way.
Sure.
So you are kind of pissed. If you saying that the Attorney General's wrong, you got a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate that is trying to strip your powers. You got a Democratic governor trying to strip your powers. Come on, man. You could be honest.
I like it. Let me. There are two things, and those are great points. Number one, because I wanted Bo Biden to sign up because I wanted to make sure that he had read off and blessed that opinion, because that opinion was very significant. But I think, in all fairness to the Attorney General, Bo Biden, is that the fact of the matter is that the legal question that was presented to Bo Biden, they did a little trick. They said, if the board has the authority to basically tell the treasurer what's called permissible investments. Like the treasurer has the power to invest in the bonds. That's what they said. Well, Bo, can you let us know, give us an opinion that says that if the board tells Chip Flowers what a permissible investment is, does he have to invest in it? The opinion came back and said yes. But what the opinion said was they added an extra sentence or two that says, oh, and by the way, in addition to permissible investments, they can also tell you which bank to put the money in. And all the lawyers that read it were kind of like, well, how'd you get from that to telling the man what banks to put the money in? That didn't even sound right. But in all fairness to the Attorney General, the question wasn't put before him, which is a question that I had asked, which was, if the board has a conflict of interest, in other words, somebody's given a political contribution, somebody holds stock in a bank, and the treasurer has independent advice saying, don't do that, does the treasurer still have to do that? And that question was never asked. So in all fairness to the Attorney General, that I always tell people is that stop putting words in the Attorney General's mouth. That's not fair to Bo. Bo didn't say that.
So did he correct the opinion?
No, the question has not been asked. And I've put that question. We've met separately with the Attorney General's office, which is a most important question. Say, if the board is asking the treasurer to do something that is, let's just call it unethical, or let's word of our neighborhood, shady. If the board is asking the treasurer to do something shady, does the treasurer have to do it? And that's the real question that people haven't answered. And I think the legislature, in the deal that we met last week, is saying, okay, well, if we give the board the power to basically tell the treasurer which banks to put the money in, then we're going to have to do a couple things. Like I proposed my honest way amendment saying, you got to tell the board, well, you got to disclose your financial interests. Also, the board needs to be term limited, because what's happened is that the board has amassed more power than the elected official. I am the only elected official that serves on this board. And only 2 states, I think we found Delaware and one other state, had this kind of model. All the other states got rid of that. That's crazy.
They're not going to, I don't believe that they're going to do any amendments.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why, I've made it very clear to leadership that I was taking this deal. And let me say something very important. I think that everybody watching this show should be very thankful to Bob Marshall, Margaret Rose Henry, Senator McDowell, and McBride, and even Senator Blevins, came together for this deal that says, listen, we hear you, we understand your concern, and more importantly, these 5 senators really worked at the last hour because they saw that this was about to blow up. This was really, people were calling left and right. We know that the News Journal editorial board didn't want to print all the letters, but people were sending me the letters that they were sending to the paper, even though the paper didn't print the letter saying that we would chip on this issue. But nevertheless, the people were calling the leg hall. And and John Kowalko on the House side, this thing was about to go get really out of control. So I think those 5 senators did a great job coming together and saying, listen, and I can't tell you enough that, some of the ministers, the IMAC ministers were wonderful. Pastor Beeman, Reverend Johnson, Reverend Livingston, and so many others came together, went down to Dover. So this was a very, very big issue. And so if they don't pass these amendments and these reforms this session, I think they're going to open up some can of worms here.
Are you still of the opinion, are you still of the mindset right now that if things don't go the way you see fit, are you still looking ready to move forward with some kind of lawsuit?
Yeah, I think all options are going to be on the table. They passed a bill. And like I said, they didn't answer the tough questions about conflicts of interest, things of this nature, and we've reserved those rights. And so I tell people all the time that we're not going to be bullied into doing anything wrong. And I think that's what happened. I think what the plan was, let's weaken Chip on this Alaska stuff. Let's weaken stuff on this travel stuff. And then, the real issue was the money. That was all. I kept saying all the time, watch it. They're going to try to push a bill for that money. That's all this was about, was that I was messing with the money. And you know the expression, Norman, you want to make somebody mad, you mess with their money. And so we were trying to do the right thing by giving it to different people, opening up, diversifying the money, giving people an opportunity to hold the state's money. And it came down to the fact that a couple banks didn't like how much money they were getting. It was crazy. So we can't get distracted by that.
But you also, I mean, you've been coming out real strong on this, and you also made a strong comment. You said it was racist.
No.
You thought it was some racial undertone. I don't know if you said it was racist.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say my line because I know we have, for your audience is very diverse, and you, as you know, you have a great audience. But let me make this clear.
But why did you say that?
I said that I don't want the prejudices associated with my race to become an issue, and I want the media to stop, because I felt as though that it was starting to get an undertone, as we just talked about, and that's not right. I'm the first African American elected official. And I'm very proud to be the first African American elected official in the state of Delaware. But what I don't want to happen, statewide, yes, I don't want to happen is that with some of the media. The media printing, like, we won't tell the fact that Chip Flowers gave $300,000 of his own money to be in office, or another $100,000 his first year. We're just going to put that Chip Flowers paid back $1,000 to give people the implication that there's something wrong with the money under this watch. And so we need to stop that. Delaware's better than that. That kind of reporting needs to stop. And a lot of media sources did a great job reporting things fairly. But again, at the same time, let's get rid of the garbage type of reporting and say, let's put the facts. I didn't need the $400. I paid it back because I thought taxpayers had a good point, saying, Treasurer Flowers, you had a confidential meeting. If you can't disclose who you met with, even though every other elected official gets to have a confidential meeting, and the governor, when he went to Israel, had confidential meetings, wasn't a big deal. But when I had them, it was like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. I said, you know what? Let me just pay the $400 back. It wasn't that big of a deal. So God has blessed me with enough money. That wasn't even an issue. And I said, I'm going to pay it back because of the integrity. My integrity is worth more than that $400.
Let me ask you a couple pointed questions.
Sure, please.
How much is this? Because it seems to me, because money is a big issue. What is this cash management board that you're talking about worth, or what kind of money do they invest? What kind of money are we talking about?
We're talking about the state's $2 billion.
Yeesh.
$2 billion. That's, and the plan was all along was, we came in, and that's why I think they treated my deputy so poorly, because she fought them just as hard as I did. And the plan was, well, we're going to let Chip mess with the money, and we're going to hope he fails, and then we're going to tell everybody he lost all this money. But that didn't happen. We made over $40 million. So then they came up with the fact that, oh, well, he just wants too much power in the office. He wants too much this. We need to do it. They were hoping that we would fail, but we didn't fail. And so that's why, I think it's a tricky issue, and I think that taxpayers need to know. And I'm sorry, I still have not found any taxpayer that says we want an unelected board appointed with the governor's appointees that may have these potential conflicts to manage our money. It doesn't happen. So, when John, I won't say names, but when people at the editorial board, and people need to know that when they read something in a news journal, on the comment blog line, most of those are campaigns that have fake Facebook posts to put all those nasty comments. You think that they're average Delawareans, maybe one or two of them are, but most of them are other campaigns or other political parties that have paid people to put negative comments in the comment section of the Delaware Online to basically say, oh, he's crazy, and all this other stuff. But, the editorial section of the paper, people need to know, that's really just one person. I mean, the editorial board is 3 people, but most of the times when they write an editorial, that's just one person. And so every time, as you know, when they were talking about Alaska, my travel, they were writing editorials left and right. This needs to be investigated. This is travel. Oh, my God, it's a crisis. Now, when I'm talking about corruption worth $2 billion, we need to move right along. Nothing to see here. I mean, it was crazy. I was like, nothing to see here. Let's just move along.
But that's why I wanted to ask you a serious question. You've had guys like Jack Markell, who became governor. You had Senator Carper, who was a treasurer, who's now a U.S. senator. Why these guys never had legislation or anything targeted at them, and they were in your same position?
I can't speak to that. I mean, I think that's something that history is going to have to work, figure out one day, and that's up for the Markell administration to figure out. I think it's embarrassing that we're hitting here at the anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, the holiday, and we're even talking about this legislation. Nothing is wrong with the treasurer's office, and they know it. And at the end of the day, I'm happy that the senators work for this deal, and I have no issue. I think it's a good deal if we can get the reforms. But I think at the end of the day, we have to figure out what do we want from our treasurer? We want somebody who is honorable, integrity, and what do we want from this board? I mean, people don't know this board. People are still like, who's on this board? I mean, people need to understand what's going on, and the more they get to understand, I think that's why they're ramming this bill through. And the more they get to understand it, people say, well, we don't like this. Something doesn't smell right with this. So, like you said, I just think that it is unfortunate that this has happened under my watch. But as I said, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight and do what's right, because it's not about getting reelected, not about moving up the ladder. I'm not going to go along to get along. I'm not going to be enticed. Oh, we'll hold some big fundraiser for you. I don't want your money. I want to do it right, because when you do it right, my father always says, wrong pays, right pays more. And so that's just kind of how I feel about the situation.
Well, I tell you, you said you're going to fight. You're going to fight. You're going to have to fight.
I know.
You don't have an option.
They degrade me over here.
Yeah. I mean, look like you. I mean, you already got the Democratic Party's putting a guy up against you. I mean, you already have the Republican Party getting somebody up against you. So you talk about you. I hope you can fight. Cause
I love it. I love it. I love people like, well, if you don't do what we want you to do, you're gonna have to run we're gonna run a primary against you.
Still not working? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's absolutely crazy when they they act like the one thing I will say and I want all your listeners to listen to this. Whenever you're trying to do right, people try to bring you down, and they do it by threats. I can't tell you how many threats we've had over the past 12 months. If you don't do what the board does, we'll ram a bill. We'll ram a bill down your throat. Or if you don't do this, we'll run somebody against you. I'm not amused by your threats. That doesn't scare me. I guess they missed a couple courses that, you can't threaten people from doing what's right.
Let me get a couple calls. I hope Lapa, Lapa, I'm glad you guys are taking over. Hope you could get some small things fixed. We can't even get the damn phone number put on the screen because something was wrong. I mean, this is pathetic, I mean, it's really sad. What is the phone number here? I don't even know the number here. People want to call in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying we usually put the number up there. Now they don't even have the capabilities to put the phone number up on the screen.
Wow.
I mean, this stuff
get that fixed. Yeah, we got to get that fixed.
This is so antiquated, What is the number so I can holler it out to people? 661 44 66. Write it down again. 68. See, that's my point. Can you give it to me? We spend money, and you would think that we have the capabilities to put the number on the screen. They've been doing it for a year and a half. The last 2 weeks, they can't even find a number. Next week, man, we're going to have Pastor Geno Jennings from Philadelphia.
Oh,
be
nice.
my guest. Anybody ever heard of Geno Jennings?
Nice.
So we're taking phone calls, and the number is 661 44 68. 661 4468. So I got to say that all night. Pathetic, right? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening, Norm, and hey, Chip.
How you doing?
Mike Lowry calling in.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Hey, listen, sorry about the phone situation at the studio. Chip, I've been following you as a professional and as an elected official, and I agree with you. You're doing things the right way, and you're having the right response to it. And I just had a thought that I wanted to put out there, and it was very interesting with this being, the King celebration and all of that. It seems to me as if people of color who are in charge of money are running up against opposition and putback. I mean, I looked at, Zelda Potter's situation. Not going to throw that into this conversation, but just my observations. She was involved with money at one point. Chip Flowers involved with money.
Right.
And I was sorry to see our current mayor move from the financial arena because he was involved with money. And of course, money is power. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm going to continue to watch the program tonight.
Hey, thanks,
Thank
Mike,
you so
as
much.
always.
Thank you. And he brings up a great point. I mean, Mike brings up a wonderful point is that, we need to, as a community, whatever ethnicity you are, we need to call out media sources when they do bad coverage. And I know Norman and I we'll talk about this before the show. I'm not going to call, we won't tell the details, but I think what happens is that, this perception needs to change out there. I called it the 3 months that they've ran stories on me about this $400 as if I needed it. It was like Chip Flowers, the unauthorized miniseries. I mean, it's just crazy. We got to change this.
How you doing? Welcome to the show. And the phone number again is 661 4468, 661-4468, because we don't have the capacity anymore to put it on the screen. Go ahead. Who's calling? You have a question?
Hi, Norm. Hi, Chip Flowers. Give him hell. Keep fighting. Because I'm following that story, and I am a Democrat, and I did vote for you.
Thank you.
But I'm going to change independent. You're doing a good job. Don't let them pocket our money.
Thank you very much.
I think it has a lot to do with race. Bottom line. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the party, I think the party, and that's a great point. I mean, like I said, I hope it doesn't. I'm hoping for the best. And then Norm, you said hope for the best that it doesn't have to do with race. But like I said, I think the Democratic Party has to watch it here, because I think that by the party, whether the administration was actively looking for people to run against me, I just think it sent a bad signal. I don't get involved in what the governor does or Bo does or anybody else does, but it seems kind of weird to me that everybody seems to want to get involved with what I want to do. They have a lot of free time on their hand, because I see a lot of problems in this state that needs to be addressed. So unemployment, it's high in the city, and that's not to slight, obviously the hard work of people in the city, but we have some real issues. We need jobs,
Right.
economic development, but obviously everybody got an opinion on what the treasurer should be doing. It kind of baffles me that we need to tell our politicians, you don't have that much free time to worry about what Chip is doing.
How you doing? Welcome to the show. And again, the number is 661-4468. How you doing? Welcome
Thank
to
you,
the
Norm. Pastor D, good evening, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Pastor D. How are you doing, sir?
I'm still standing, sir, still standing. Norm, I want to highlight something that has been your pet peeve for some time, as I recollect. And that is the committees, like the one that the board, like Chip is talking about. I can remember you screaming through the television, we have got to become concerned with who's on boards, how they are appointed. I remember you doing a whole series of shows on how important it was and how naive we are about people being on these boards. And I think this is a perfect example of exactly what you were talking about. I'd like to hear how you think this plays into that whole dynamic in Delaware. And Mr. Treasurer, I would simply remind you that when you ran, Holler Back was the featured Chip Flowers show.
Exactly.
And you didn't have a lot of support from the traditional establishment, and yet you prevailed. And I believe that when we fight, we win. And so I would just encourage you to go back to the old landmark and come back to the grassroots team that got you there, and continue to put faith and trust in, because the money fight you're having is really about the distribution of the wealth and the funds, and not playing the old boy game and giving money to your pals, but getting it to the people who pay the taxes. I'll hang up and listen. And Norm, thanks for opening this subject, because you opened it a long time ago, and it's one that has to be continued and brought.
Hold on for 1 second before you hang up. You heard of Pastor Geno Jennings, right?
Yes.
He's gonna be the guest on my show next Sunday. That should be live, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's coming in from Philadelphia just to be on this show.
Oh, okay. All right.
You gotta buckle up. Okay. Let me.
Sure.
Hold on for 1 second. And again, the number is 661-4468. And he's absolutely right. I've said this a long time, that when we vote, anybody in office, from the mayor, county executive, governor, city, anybody, it's important that you get on those boards. I mean, school boards. I mean, go to these. I mean, that's where the decisions are made. That's where the money's going to be taking place. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Listen, I'm switching back and forth, and having to see that you had the treasurer on tonight. And although I'm a Republican, I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Treasurer. I really appreciate the tenacity and you sticking up for your guns, and we all know what it's about too. They don't have to tell us. We know it's about the money. And we were sitting around, in the barber shop doing a little talking. I'm a barber, and a lot of people coming in talking about, they didn't have a Merry Christmas this year because you didn't let them put the money where they wanted, and all of them could have got their little something off the top here. And you messed up their Christmas. Maybe maybe they had to eat at Fridays. They couldn't go to Constantino's and get a certain amount of cuts of beef. But one thing I want to just say this to you and Norman and the audience, that we're finding, see, and I've been saying this for years, that don't think all the Democrats is on board with everybody. But soon one of us get a little money, get a little power, all of a sudden now, we're a problem. You said it earlier, the Treasury Office is fine. None of this happened under nobody else's watch. And the way they're doing you lets me know that we got real problems in Delaware, not just politically, but there's still a lot of racial overtones that the Democratic Party been using African Americans to advance their own personal careers. And I'm gonna tell you, they happy long as we city councilmen, long as we state representatives from certain districts. But like you said, when you won that office down there, and again, I support Velda, but I'm gonna tell you, since you've been in there, you won me over.
Well, thank
in terms of your ability to handle that job. And I'm going to tell you, Velda and them's a good friend of mine, but I like what you're doing down there, brother. I'm going to stand with you. I'm a Republican. I like you. And if the Republicans run somebody against you, I'm still going to support you.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you so much. You know, I want to tell something. This will be the first time you'll hear it, Norman, on Community Crossfire. I'm sure my opponents are running. You know, things at one point got so bad for me that I actually contemplated changing, becoming independent. And to the credit, and I will never forget this, to the credit of the White House, I had some private discussions with some folks down at the White House, and basically told me, you know, don't let somebody here in Delaware run you away from your party. And I'll never forget. So I mean, I had some very personal discussions because I was so angry. I said, you know, why is it that they are doing this? You know, and people, you know, that's kind of the hidden secret. And a lot of people knew it. A lot of people knew it. But I was very serious. So I have to thank I have to thank the president and his team because they looked out for me, and I can't say all the things that they did on the air, but they certainly looked out for me. And, you know, I'm actually the co-Democratic chair of all the state treasurers. They don't put that out there in the paper because, you know, all my other colleagues like what we're doing here, but they want you to think that the treasurer's office is in crisis. But the White House, I mean, this president, you know, him and his team have looked out for me, and I owe them a lot to remind me that, you know, don't let what's happening here by some folks in Delaware who have bad intentions, don't let them distract from the ultimate goal of helping people. So I must give the president and his team some credit for that.
And you know, and you know, I looked at our last tape, you know, when you were on here, and I told you that, I said, wow, you saying some serious stuff, you know. And I have to say this, you know, it pains me. I mean, don't pay me like that, but I wish that you and the governor could work or get along better because the governor has been good to me, right. and you know, I'm not afraid to say what I got to say about anybody. But Governor Jack Markell's been really good to me, and you've been really good to me. So I wish you guys could get together. But the number again is 661.
Hello?
Hold up, Julius. 661-4468. Will we get that fixed so I won't have to look at this every? I mean, this is embarrassing.
But I want to say one thing because people about me and myself and the governor, because the governor and I did meet when Senator Margaret Rose Henry, you know, really helped, you know, sat there with us, and we had a good meeting. I am unsure, and I think it's a fair statement to say, you know, and I said with this board, is whether or not is it, you know, the governor's involved in certain things or not. I mean, that's up to him and God. But, you know, it seems to me that, you know, you have people who are surrounded by teams of people. And people need to understand there's that layer here that, you know, I find it's very troublesome, you know, when I say the administration, because people don't understand that, you know, you as an elected official, just like I didn't know what was going on with my deputy, right? You have individuals that are close to you that are doing some things. And I'm learning as an elected official that, you know, that layer that around, that kind of that inner circle that's around you, they could either make or break you. Chris Christie and the Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Chris Christie and the Bridge is an exact example. Like, let's give Chris Christie the benefit of the doubt and say he didn't know. But yet the folks around him were playing hard ball. You see, that completely changed that trajectory.
Let's take a call.
Please.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Norman?
How you doing,
Chip?
Hey, how you doing, Chip?
What I wanted to say, a lot of people don't know that they talk about $400. Your first year of your salary, you gave it to charity. Your first year, your whole salary, you gave it to charity. And a lot of people don't talk about that, but a lot of people don't know. Also, I want to thank you and your team for $40 million that the state made under your watch. With everybody losing money, and you coming up with a way to make money, and again, you help so many people out with your
with your year's salary that nobody's talking about. Keep doing a good job, and Norman, a good show.
Thank you, Julius.
Thank you, Julius. And Julius, and I'm going to give Julius some credit here. I think your phone might be. I'm going to give Julius some credit because I think Julius, Ted Blunt, Norman, and people like that have been good to me because you know what? You always say when you're going through your dark hours, there are people like Julius, Ted, Norman, Rick Williams, others who basically reach out and check up on you. And people in my Shiloh church community, you know, that's important to me. You know, I'm a very religious person. I don't know if, whatever people believe in, that's on them. But I believe in God and Jesus. And, that means a lot to me when, just when the newspaper is attacking you and they dogging you and lying on you, they'll call you in the morning and say, hey, it's going to be all right. And catch the cross for putting that metal in the paper.
Let me take a couple calls. Then I'm going to ask you another question. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Norman.
Uh-huh.
This is Ruth Baker calling.
Hey, Ruth.
Hi, how are you doing?
All right.
Good. Chip, I just want to say something to Chip, and then I'll get back to you. Chip,
yes, ma'am.
This is nothing new. What's happening to you is nothing new. We have a long history of castigation against particularly our men. And around issues of you can't do what we can do. And so we congratulate you for taking the stance that you are taking because it's rather unusual. Usually when the press comes on you as they've done you, people have a tendency to fold. And you've not done that. You stood tall. And so I personally congratulate you for that. I know it's not easy. It's devastating. But we have to do that. And I think what they fail to understand is that we don't have a stupid community.
That's right.
We're cognizant, most of us are cognizant of what's being done to you, and we're being watchful as it relates to that. So you just hang in there, darling, and stick to your guns. And Norman, we need a class. We need a class for our young men, most particularly our young men that go into areas of status.
Right, we do.
Because they tend to get beat up on, and so we need some classes for that.
Well, I need to come to your class then, Ruth, because I had an afro. Now I have no hair.
I talked to my son. He doesn't have that kind of status, but I tell him all the time, be extraordinarily careful since you head up fame. Be very, very careful with all of your dealings as it relates to a penny because somebody will be gunning for you. Now, Norman, LAPA does not take over until April 1, but I will let you know that we did report that problem.
Thank you.
And we are expecting some changes. We are expecting some equipment to come in. You're absolutely right.
Because we
can't tolerate this.
We got too much important stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have time to be saying 6614468. I mean, that's ridiculous.
You're right.
For real.
You're right.
They send me a bill.
Even though it's not our responsibility, it's Comcast's responsibility. We feel a responsibility to the community. We've already called that in, and so hopefully that will get fixed. But thank you.
Thank you.
We know that you support everything that we're trying to do.
Best.
Of course, we support you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
And thank you, Ruth, and thank you for your prayers.
And people like Ruth Baker and these folks, they've been on the forefront and fighting for years. It look like the phones are ringing, so let's keep it moving.
Sure.
Take a lot of calls.
That's fine.
6614468, okay? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I just wanted to let Chip know that this issue has been in the forefront of the discussion in the people of Wilmington for quite some time. The News Journal did do a overkill with the story, and basically it was a shake-up in order to shake you down so that you would become a bobblehead, quietly going about your business as treasurer while those that are in power went behind the scenes to do what they sometimes and often do, and obviously they're trying to do now. And I'm glad that you are bringing actually what they're trying to and attempting to do, which is diminish your good name to the people in Washington and to the citizens of Wilmington. So we commend you. We are watching what's going on here in the state, and you be sure to make sure that your name is cleared of any wrongdoing because they will diminish your good name, Chip.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I want people to know that these are the conversations I'm having up and down the state. And I know some of the Democratic Party members watch. They probably think this is just Wilmington. This is the conversation. I mean, people are upset. People saw that, and I'm blessed because people saw what happened to me as that could be something that could happen to their child. And people have walked up to me on the street and of all ethnicities and said, God bless you, Chip. Just hang in there. And I'm blessed. I'm so thankful.
Chris Barris used to write stuff about me. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. I wasn't even in town sometimes he was writing stuff about me. Adam Taylor, them guys, I don't even, and I could get into some stuff happening in their families, but I'm an honorable guy. Only until they mess with me again. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
How you doing? This is Brother Malachi. I just want to say, Brother Chip and Norm, last week we were talking about what was going on in the city. Now this week we see a brother who's a role model, who goes out there, works hard, does a job, and gets ostracized. I just want to say two things. And then here it is, Monday, we're going to be celebrating Martin Luther King's holiday. The thing that grieves my spirit is that this has been going on for a long time, but it looks like us as a people, we got the rally around the brother, and we got to write to our congressmen, because this should not be allowed to happen in this day and age right now. Yeah, they can just isolate a guy and just attack him, and we allow it, and we sit back and we do nothing. And all I'm just saying is, Brother Chip, if you run for election, let me know, put the word out to Norm so we can get the people out there to help you, because this doesn't make any sense that we sit back idle by and do absolutely nothing. And yet, at the same time, last week, we talking about young men dying, and I'm just appalled about this. And we sit back and watch this happen. We can't do this in 2014.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. No, thank you.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening. I love your show. I look at it all the time, and I'm just proud of you. And I just want to say, God bless both of you.
Thank you so much.
Fight.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's good. That's good. I need some blessings. We all need some.
I need a
661-4468. 661-302. 661-4438-68. What I would like to do, too, at some point, Chip, I would like to get somebody on from the Cash Management Board.
I think that'd be great.
I would like to hear their side of the story. I've certainly invited Tom Cook on.
Yeah,
also,
please.
Just to hear. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Hello?
Hello?
Uh-huh.
Norman?
Yes?
I knew you when you was born.
Okay.
But I want to speak to Chip.
Okay.
Hello, Chip.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
I'm blessed, and I'm 85 years old.
Oh, wonderful,
I just
wonderful.
had a birthday.
Well, happy birthday. God bless you.
But what I want to say to you, thank you, dear. Thank you. What I want to say to you, Chip, look to the hills from which cometh your help, because all of your help cometh from the Lord. You don't have to be worried about nothing. The angels, you have two angels, and your angels are watching over you. All right?
Well, thank you, ma'am.
Don't worry about the talk. Because people, and my mother always told me, watch your closest friends.
That's exactly right.
Those are the ones. God loves you, and so do I. Peace and love.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, you said you knew me when I was born. You didn't tell me those angels were watching over me.
Listen, you two are.
Okay, no, I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to Chip. 661-4468. So what's your next strategy?
My strategy is I'm going to try to hold.
Are you running for office?
Yes, I'm running for re-election. It's funny. It is the fact that by them putting somebody up against me in the primary, now they made my passion even more. I mean, because I just think that we need to send a signal that you're not going to do this to people. People, this is not about me becoming governor, lieutenant governor, or treasurer. This is about people doing right. We have some great young people in this community that want to get involved in politics. So we need to let them know that you're not going to run people away because we call you out or some shady dealings. We're going to basically stand in the fight. So you can talk about me, you can talk about my underoos, whatever you think is appropriate. We are going to stay in this fight because I intend to say that I think about Dr. King, and I went to the Sussex County Martin Luther King event over the weekend, and just the microphone wasn't working that well, and people, they sung "We Shall Overcome," and you just see the spirit of people just when a movement happens, and how people just were dogged and oppressed, and worked so hard for me to get to where I am today, and you just say, I'm not going to let you take that away from them.
Let me ask you a question, and I hope you maybe we'll be the first. We'll break another story on this show. What is it going to go any further? Are you prepared to take this to a legal battle?
Like I said, I'm going to give the senators the benefit of the doubt. Like I said.
So right now,
Senator
there's nothing
Blevins,
going to happen.
Nothing. Right now, what's going to happen is they're going to look at all the reforms that I've requested in a separate Senate committee. And I've said, that's fine. We'll look at them, but don't try to play games and say we'll look at the reforms and pass it next session because election's out. So they'll say, well, if a new treasurer comes in, we don't have to pass the reforms.
Right.
We're not going to play that game. So you're going to do it this session, and you're going to do it the same sense of urgency that you did with this bill.
If I could go on record, I think that they're going to pass it their way. I don't think that they're going to use any amendments.
We shall see. And like I said, and they know all bets are off.
Do you want to bet?
No, listen. It's Sunday now. I can't bet on
Sunday. You know why?
Sunday.
Because I think it's going to be like, well, we're going to get to it, but we just got to get this through right now, and we'll deal with that later, and it'll never come up. Trust me, I've been around a long time, and people know they watch the show. I'm usually right. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Norman. I just want to say hi to you and Chip. Chip, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to ask you a question for you. You are a Harvard-educated attorney, correct?
Correct. Yes, I went to Harvard to Kennedy School. I actually went to Georgetown for my law school and business degree.
Okay. Do you really think that those folks down at the General Assembly really respect you?
Well,
I would try to impress upon you to read the book called A History of African Americans in Delaware and the Maryland Eastern Shore by Dr. Karl Marx. And it is mind-boggling.
Wow. All right, thank you very much for the call.
That's a good point because, I always tell people, I don't play, I don't use
Hello?
the race card or anything like that. So it's very interesting.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, Norman.
Uh-huh.
Is Norman Arbor?
This is he.
Okay. Is anybody to get you off of the air later on? Because I get a number to get you off the air. It's very important, and I don't want to go in there with it.
All right, call the studio after the show.
Call who?
Call back after the show.
Oh, okay. Same number?
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Bye.
So you got private calls coming in. See,
yeah. But you said you don't want to make a race issue, but you did make it.
No, I want to say this because I want to make sure because this is what my opponent salivates. He wants to make this is about something bigger than this. Is about money, power.
It's a lot of money, $2 billion.
Equality, and it just happens to be there's also an undertone there.
But Mr. Treasurer, you call some of the people crooks and unethical. I mean, those are some.
I love. Listen to me.
You said it on my last show.
I tell people to go to treasury.delaware.gov and they can watch my remarks. But I'm gonna say, I said that.
You said it on
I
the
said
last
that
show.
it looks shady, and I stand by it. It looks.
No, but
it looks
you
crazy.
didn't-
Let me say,
you didn't say
it
it
looks very shady, Norman. Now, you and I both know. Now, I always tell people the standard. Your viewers get a laugh. Now, the standard is if Chip Flowers had
$2 billion is a lot of money.
If I had some stock in some banks, and I, as treasurer, went to go get some of the people's money and tried to put their money in those banks. Norman, you and I both know there'd be impeachment hearings. They would bring back public hangings at Rodney Square, and they say he's the shadiest treasurer we've ever had.
Right.
Now, why is it that if I can't do it, but why is it if they do it on the board, that's just the Delaware way? I mean, that's just not, people are tired of that. I don't care what race you are. People are just tired of saying, why is it that we have two Delawares? We have the Delawares that some of us live in.
Let's take this one
we
last
can't
call.
do anything. It's just crazy.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Norman and Chip.
Hi.
I have concern. I would like for this to be given to Chip to tell him don't give up. And I'm really impressed with Mrs. Baker calling in and telling him that. And the other lady said that the angels was over his head. He got to be strong and don't give up because everybody see what's going on.
Okay.
I think he should be getting more support from the representatives to the other people, and I don't see them calling in and standing behind him.
All right,
But
thank
I
you.
know why, because that's the way
Delaware people work.
Yeah, we got about 1 minute. Thank you for the call.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your prayers.
We're going to take this last call. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Young man, the important thing I think for the show to remember with Chip Flowers, like it or not, is racism. The issue is important, but if Chip Flowers was a different color, the response might be a little different. Chip Flowers is the wrong color. He's uppity, and there's a lady of another color involved. Like it or not, those are issues that are going to be difficult for him to overcome.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
That was the last call from Mr. Jim Gilliam Sr.
Sellington.
He's 93 years old, 94 years old, and so he has a lot of...
Still wisdom, just wisdom.
So just tell you that. So, Mr. Flowers, as always, thank you.
Always good.
And you're always welcome on the show.
Now listen, now when they keep lying on me, just don't forget now. No. Keep me in your prayers. That's all I ask.
And I mean, this show is open, and next Sunday is going to be a very interesting show, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Geno Jennings. I think his show comes on at 10 o'clock right after this show. Either comes on this station or Channel 22. Google him, check him out, Pastor Geno Jennings. This was a very enlightening show, Mr. Flowers, and we got to do more of this.
Always, and thank you. Thank all the viewers, and God bless all of you all.
All right, thank you very much. We're out of here. Hasta luego.